Hi, welcome to Trigger Your Truth. I'm Kristen, and this is episode 3. I got a lot of good feedback regarding last week's episode to kind of dial it in and summarize it. So I kind of thought that's where we would start today. So last week, what I tried to share was that there were two personal stories that I used as examples. The first one being my grandmother's landlord and how impactful that was for me regarding the brain and just how powerful the brain is, right? Because it stored that memory away until years later when I was able to really kind of process what had happened. So, point one being the brain is oh so powerful and is storing a lot of stuff up there. And then two, I kind of shared my move to Kansas City and that I wasn't really feeling very good about myself and how through the years, then the self talk became stronger and stronger and stronger. And for me, my personal self talk at the time was, you know, I didn't love myself. Um, I was insecure, didn't have a lot of friends. Um, to, the marriage isn't working. I don't love my husband, and so on. So, years of that self talk, what I was telling myself becomes a belief, which ultimately had me pulling the trigger 6 months later for a divorce. And let me correct something while I'm at it because in the last video, I think I said I was married 24 years, and let's just say it's 14. I'm old, but not that old. Um, and obviously, I don't know how to edit a video. So I'm just correcting that. And then I kind of shared energy in the divine masculine versus the divine feminine and how what I had learned when I reflected back on that time frame of that really low self-talk that was, what you put out, you believe and become, was that my energy wasn't in alignment or balanced for my personal self for me to be my best version during that time. I was in that very masculine energy that had imprinted on me that I should be working and doing and analytical and problem solver. Um, I had no idea about the balance of it with the divine feminine energy of flow and sit and more of that emotional intelligence, if you will, receive, create kind of energy. So, knowing all of that, when I say connect the dots, for me, it means you have to widen your lens, right? If I was filtering those experiences through my lens, then when I would go through my daily life experiences, whatever they were, then I was reacting in that lens of what I believed about myself, what I believed about my life, and it was very narrow, right? There was no self-awareness of the yin and the yang and the flow of a balance of energy and understanding myself and why I reacted the way I did. So when my healing journey really kicked off, that was, 2017, and then ultimately 2021 was kind of like my hermit stage. Um, the biggest piece of that journey is to widen my lens, right? And really go back and look at those experiences, those self self beliefs, my thoughts, my what I was telling myself, and kind of break them apart and get really vulnerable with who I am. Why do I react the way that I do? Because it wasn't serving me anymore. And I finally just became so exhausted in 2021 that I just kind of broke down. And it was exhaustion from overthinking, stress, thinking too much in the future, reliving past experiences that made an impact on me, and constantly dwelling on all that. So all I was ever doing was still facilitating and emphasizing what I already believed about myself by continuing to go through the day reacting to everything with that small lens of my beliefs and projecting it onto what I was experiencing, right? And I really just kind of like crashed. I was so tired because my body was never in peace. I never could just find peace. Um, and that's what ultimately made me start to look at my emotions as triggers, to find my truth, to, as I say, connect the dots. So I'm going to use this story, another story, personal story for me. That is one of the dots that I had to connect so that my lens could get wider and I could hold my own self accountable for my reactions, my overthinking, my hate, my competitiveness, my whatever I was thrown in to reacting at the time. So, my dad, um, great guy. And you know what? We were raised in a middle class family. I didn't have to want for anything. For the most part, I look at it and it was a, good childhood. I have nothing to complain about. Love my parents. Um, but my dad had this behavior that, in a family of all girls, that if he didn't like what he was experiencing with us as a family, or didn't you know feel that he was being included, or whatever the experience was for him, his reaction was to almost like pout. He wouldn't talk to us, he wouldn't engage us, he would ignore us if we spoke to him. And that went on really our entire lives. So what I noticed, right, when I started to want to be that best version and want to understand myself, was that I was doing that same behavior to my kids, my husband, my family, my friends. And I didn't realize just how much I did that, right? If something didn't go my way, that was a reaction. Woe is me, play victim, um, talk talk about a friend, play into drama, get more competitive to outdo them, whatever. Um, and that behavior left me just overthinking, stressed out, you know, trying to control everything, losing sleep, not being able to feel good about myself or feel like I was my best version and in alignment, if you will. So, through some healing sessions that I had tried, which, as I've mentioned, I just started trying all sorts of stuff to see what would resonate and work for me. I tried some like Reiki therapy and Reiki sessions. And, before I knew it, I was crying in these sessions and tears would just stream down my face because I was able to, with the therapist kind of attach stuck energy that was blocked that I was not looking at and go back and widen my lens and almost look at it like it was a movie. So I could remember the little girl in me for the first time, my first memory experiencing that behavior from my dad. And I very much remember sitting in a living room, our living room at the time, and crying. And my parents didn't know it. And I went to bed and never shared that experience that I had stayed up crying and never communicated it because we weren't a family that communicated very well. And yeah, it made me sad, right? Um, Made me afraid, made me not feel safe, made me not feel loved. So then I took it even further and would remember times that that happened to me early teens, late teens, early 20s, and replay that instant that I remembered that same situation happening. And once again, what I was discovering was that I was afraid. I didn't feel safe. I didn't communicate. I held my emotions in. I didn't feel loved. So, connecting those dots for me, right? I really had to take some accountability because I was now doing that. So that imprinted on me, and I never really knew until these past few years as I've started to connect those dots. And then that's a hard look in the mirror to say, oh, wow, that's a very controlling, mean, not moving through love behavior. And why was I reacting to my daily experiences like that? And ultimately, it was because that little girl in me was still afraid to communicate, was still afraid to share emotion, was still afraid to talk about it, and still didn't feel loved. Like, what if I had tried to react differently? Would they leave me? Would they hate me? Would they not find me cool? I don't know. But that's a really vulnerable thing to do. And it's a very raw, accountable mirror that I was holding up in front of my face. but my lens got wider, right? I could look at it from a different perspective and not that narrow one that was ultimately fear-based, that was the safe reaction to what I was experiencing, now. So instead of playing victim, woe is me, when something didn't go my way and pout or judge them or create drama because of it, I was now very consciously aware of that habit that became my belief system that kept that lens really narrow and, quite frankly, unauthentic. I mean, that is not a good way to treat your family, friends, loved ones, um, kids. I mean, it's horrible. Um, but a piece of that, right, is not only widening the lens to understand it so that I could be consciously aware of if an experience during the day wasn't going my way, that I was not going to react like that. So, holding the crystal or wearing the jewelry, whatever it is to help me trigger me to remain conscious so I can sit with it. I started to do. I started to create those habits so that it would help me in times like that, right? Because it's going to come up. Let's face it, this is not a race, this is a journey, and we're always evolving and trying to do better. And then that wider lens required me to face my fear of communicating, being vulnerable, admitting that I did this out loud, apologizing to my family, um, and just letting them know that I was consciously going to do better, right? And then I had to take it a step further and understand that my dad, right? Same thing. He probably watched his mom or dad do it. Um, who knows what imprinted it on him? But what I do know is that he did try his best for his family, and that was a reactionary behavior. And he did love me, and I was safe. And that was just how he handled his experiences that hit him. That was his protective mechanism, right? So the aha for me is I connected the dots. I'm aware of it. And I can, go through each day doing better and being in tune with myself and my emotions and my triggers and my accountability. And to be our best versions, we have to connect those dots. We have to look at them with a wider lens. You have to hold yourself accountable. We have to do this. Um, it's not up to anybody else to do that for us. It's what we owe ourselves. And it is so much more peaceful on the other side, because then my energy, right, the masculine and the feminine, is not in chaos. It's flowing, because the divine feminine energy is the energy that sits and is still and is quiet and is not reactionary and is more consciously aware of the reactions so that they can be intuitive and flow and receive. And I'm here to tell you, when you start to do that, it is beautiful. It is beautiful, and the peace and the alignment that comes more easily for me now just leaves me in a better headspace. I am not out there, reliving, um, what fight happened or what experience happened or why I pouted on them and feel so bad about myself, or I didn't communicate, or I should have done it differently, so I didn't sleep well, or I ate too much because of it, or I drank too much because of it. I mean, all of that were triggers showing me I was not in alignment, that I needed to pay attention and widen my lens, learn more about myself so that I could step into a better version that is moving through, love and compassion and forgiveness versus, you know, drama, gossip, competitiveness, hate, jealousy, overthinking, whatever. Um, and it feels really good. And I want everybody to feel this good. Um, we deserve to feel this good. So I encourage you guys to, think about this and take what resonates and find your curiosity to start connecting your dots and widening your lens. So the last thing I'll leave you with is, last week I kind of said, try this. Try getting in the car or walking to work, or you know, walking to class, or whatever it is you're doing, and turn off the noise. Take off the headphones, turn off the music, and just be quiet, because the thoughts and the constant going and the lists and the to do and that anxiety of living, you know, in the future and overthinking the past, you got to learn how to quiet the mind and tap into that divine feminine energy. So you have to start by creating new habits. So I truly hope that you guys tried that. And I I hope that you continue to practice that, because it doesn't, make a dent in your day. You're just changing that simple thing to help learn how to quiet your mind, and take that deep breath, or smell the air, or say your gratefulness, or look at the sky, whatever it is, so that you're in the moment. You're reminding yourself to be in the moment. Use your crystals, your jewelry, whatever it is. Um, Today I have a citrine, which happens to be my honest to gosh favorite one ever, and it's more yellow. Um, but this is like abundance, kind of connected to the solar plexus. But sorry, somebody's coming to the door. But I love this one, and it's a raw one, which I like the raw for keeping in my hands. And then actually, I had a big old selenite stick on my lap, which is very cleansing, actually. So I love to practice with my crystals, like put them on different parts to see if I can, tap into their energy and kind of feel it. Um, so try playing with crystals, or a squeegee ball, or whatever it is that helps you to remain conscious and aware of yourself and in the present moment, instead of reacting from your past beliefs and programming, because that's the easy way to go. That's the easy way to go. It's harder to remain conscious and aware. Um, you got to create the new habits. And then the other thing I might suggest you try is, the divine feminine is so much of a more of a flowing energy, and you let it come in and you kind of sit with it and let it flow out, or look again at it later kind of energy. So that constant thinking and constant making to-do lists, or constantly living off your to-do list, which is me, whether it's calendar on the wall or my Franklin planner, which I still use, or my phone notes, lists everywhere. Learn how to start to trust yourself so that you can be more attuned into what you're feeling, or if a thought comes in that you want to write down, or what emotions you might have in a given moment. You got to trust yourself to be able to flow and sit and take it in and act, not react. So maybe give up a list, because for me, lists were big, like I said. So maybe give up a list. Um, I gave up the grocery store list. So I always now just go into the grocery store, and instead of pulling out my phone and everything we need, I'm like, well, show me what I need. And, I probably have been doing it about, well, 5 weeks at the most now. And, I think I have forgotten about 3 or 4 items. And so what, right? The worst case scenario, we didn't have it. Um, I did something else, or I stopped a day later and made another trip. That has learned that has helped me learn to trust myself and flow, which is that divine feminine energy. Because ultimately, again, the what I was living in was that very masculine energy, by trying to control everything. And that's how I would solve it. And, my pouting behavior was controlling it. And I would react, not sit with it, or create drama, or be competitive, or be jealous, or do something different. So it was always just more, you know, go out there that way and solve it, which was hiding the fact that I wasn't allowing my divine feminine energy to come into play to help balance me. Because if those aren't balanced, then you're scrambled for the day. You're reactionary, you're overthinking, you're stressed out, whatever it is. And that was all signs for me that I was not balanced. The yin and the yang flow was not there. So I had to dive into connecting those dots and widening my lens, so I could allow myself to feel, be vulnerable, sit with it, learn, and then practice that, so that the divine feminine energy has come more into balance with my masculine energy. And then I go through a day much more peacefully, without shame or guilt or worry or stress or overthinking or lists, because my energy was not flowing. It was in chaos. So hopefully that kind of helped tie in last week and makes a little bit more sense by using that other example. Um, You guys, it's worth it to start getting curious. It's worth it to start really holding yourself more accountable, because it really does widen that lens so that you can not project and have just a more beautiful experience during your day. And we all deserve that. So let's hopefully you guys try some of this. Um, like, subscribe, comment. Um, I would love to know if you've tried it, if it's helping, if there's anything you want to share with me. Like I said, I'm just here sharing my stories and kind of what it's meant for me, and we're all different. So definitely tweak tweak it to what is best for you. But I would love to know. So I really hope that you subscribe, comment, and like this video. Thank you.